All right, I'm going to start back up again. Um, I'm not going to spend much time on this. Again, this was what I was sent so far from Ms. Kincaid. All right, and I always, forget it's Arrow Bridge Rescue. Now, I talked with her last week. She went out and, under my recommendation, even though she did more than she really had to, she bought the domains arrowbridgerescue.com, arrowbridgerescue.net, and arrowbridgerescue.org. And I mentioned to her the only reason she may want to purchase, instead of just the .com, the other one or the other two, or both of the other two, is that if somebody else eventually ended up buying those domains and used it for something totally different, and somebody went out thinking that was her website and it wasn't, they may be totally turned off. But I said it's up to her. What we will end up doing at the end is what's called a browser redirect, so that if somebody goes out to arrowbridgerescue.org or to arrowbridgerescue.net, they will be pushed, so to speak, to arrowbridgerescue.com automatically. All right, it's not that there'll be 3 pages, there won't be. All right, so this is what she sent me. Again, I'm not reading a bit of it. This is the story basically of how it started. All right, and this is the cat I guess it started with. All right, this is another cat she has, and then there's some pictures of dogs in here. All right, now for example, this is my opinion, for whatever it is or is not worth, but I find this sad. This was an example. This was a greyhound, so the dog was used for racing. After the dog was too old to race, basically it sounds like the users didn't want it anymore. All right, so she ended up taking it in. And then she talks about that one. And she talks about these were 2 dogs that were, you can see basically they're twins. And they both had hearing problems. I think they're both still alive, I think. But neither one of them can hear anymore. All right, but they can respond to certain hand commands. All right, so she's got a lot of very interesting stories that she's had. Okay, and again, I'm just going to show you this. Well, here's one more that she had. This was a bulldog, and I think the normal age for bulldogs is like 8 years, it said. This is like 12. All right, so she's got a bunch of stuff in here. Again, notice from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you. That's the kind of thing, that you might want to put in there. She told me she can provide more information. All right, at the end of the semester, she's going to be coming in here, and because she said she wanted to come in and personally thank, she will choose one of your designs, and whoever does not get chosen shouldn't feel left out, shouldn't feel I lost. It's not a competition, or if it is, it's a friendly one. All right. What we did was 2 years ago we started this, and 2 years ago what we ended up doing was my daughter was getting married, and she said, "Dad, can you set up a site for me and Brian?" And I said, "Yeah." And I thought, well, I don't want to do it, but I'll have the students do it. So what we did was, at that time we had 15 students, and they each came up with their own ideas. She did give pictures. She gave some ideas for colors that she would like, etc. And then what happened was, I took all 15, put them on a flash drive, and just numbered them 1 to 15. She didn't know any of the people, but I wanted it to be totally anonymous. She picked the one that she wanted, and that one ended up being used. All right. Then we did the same thing, basically, maybe that was 3 years ago. I don't remember, but we did the same thing with what I've already shown you with that leavemeathome.com. All right. Now, last fall, we had a very small class, and in that class, we had only about 3 or 4 people, but most of them didn't come very often. And I didn't think it was fair for just the one person who was coming all the time to have to do this, so we didn't do it. But we're bringing it back again, so to speak. So this is one. At noon today, and I still have to set up a Zoom meeting, I am talking with a woman named Sarah Hodge, who is a personal trainer who's also looking for a site. All right? And I'm going to ask that you try to do both. If you're like, oh, geez, I don't have time, then do one. But I want to make sure that some people are doing each one. All right? And again, what I'm going to show you now then is, this is, and I'll turn it up, but this is the Zoom meeting that we have. Now, I could send this to you, but I don't think you're going to get a lot out of it. And with a lot of it, it's for lack of better words, it's almost to me kind of funny that, I'm thinking, man, I kind of sound rude there. I sort of sound like I was interrupting her, and I sure didn't mean to do that, or whatever. But trying to see, I want to come in and turn the mic up all the way. So, oh, come on, let me get in there. Do it from here. All right. It's not letting me get in here to play with this. It might not be very loud. Well, but we'll see if we can adjust it if we have to. So here it is.
Okay, so it's kind of interesting in that when I come into work here, they basically close a lot of stuff down, and I've got to go and tweak a bunch of stuff. And what I'm saying to you is, I can't really get to Facebook from here, which I actually think is a good thing.
Okay.
But so at home, I did go and look up, your place online on Facebook, and I saw some of the pictures that were in there.
Yes.
Okay, so I know, I've read a little bit about it as far as what's on there, but, and I was given your card by Mr. Groherring, but any information on your place that you have that you could send.
1 second. Let me turn this walkie off so that I can actually hear you. I'm sorry.
All right.
Because I feel like when you go to a site and you're not texting. Okay, so sorry. I didn't hear the last part of what you said.
Okay, well, what I was saying was I have not seen very much of the information regarding your rescue center. I've looked a little bit on Facebook, but that's been about it. And of course, Mr. Groherring gave me your card. So any information that you could give me, any pictures you could send me, etc., would be most appreciated.
Sure. Right. I can send you whatever you need. So basically, it just started in June, so it's just over a little over a year old. We do not operate out of a facility at this time. It's all out of my personal home and then foster homes. So we're hoping to, in the future, expand and have a facility at some point. We just don't have the financial, benefits of doing that right now. So basically, it's a 501c3, and it is for dogs that require hospice care and or have special needs. So that's the gist of it. Right now, there is 4 dogs that are being funded by it. So we only take cases that are hospice care or dogs that have special needs and require medical care. So we get them surgeries or treatments or things that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get without the rescue funds. Okay. So, most of the time there's less than 5 dogs that are getting benefit from it right now, just because of the limited donations that we get. So the website will help us grow and expand just knowledge about it and word of mouth and things like that. We do have the Facebook site, which a lot of people follow, but the website I think would help to reach strangers too that we don't have on our Facebook page.
All right. Now, do you have the Arrow Bridge? Do you have that domain?
Domain as in?
As in like website domain, or is that something you want to look into?
Yeah, that's definitely something I would want to look into, and that was one of my questions for you. Okay. Is, what the options were there.
Well, again, we'll have to take a look, but typically what I do, and it's not always the best thing to do, is if you want to see if a domain is available, I could just type in arrowbridge.com, for example. And if there's nothing there, it probably is available. The only problem per se with doing that is there are people that literally kind of, for lack of better words, check on the internet to see what domain names people have looked for, and sometimes they buy them. It's called cyber squatting. So I wouldn't really want to do that until we had agreed on, for sure that was the name you wanted and the name was available. Then what we do, usually it's about $15 a year for you to have for you to have the name. Okay. And I'm looking into a bunch of options. See, we're doing a bunch of new stuff
They had a
this year with
special, that
students,
name
and
sheet,
I'm going to be
that you
able to
got
hopefully
all three of them
acclimate a
for
lot of
about
that
$16.
into this,
So,
whereas that may be the only cost that you have.
Okay.
And that's what I'm looking to do. There are websites out there, and there are hosting agencies that are out there on the cloud that are free. Now,
Okay.
the only problem is if you'd know better than me if this would ever happen, but if you were ever to get deluged with people coming to it, and I'm talking about hundreds, if not thousands at a time, then it could be problematic. But it sounds as if, from what you're saying, that's not really going to be the case. That there's
Right.
going to
I
be
don't think so. Like I said, it's very, very small. It's just over a year old, and I'm the only one who runs it.
Gotcha.
So um, I'm just trying to grow it as I can, but there's only so much I can do without a facility.
Okay.
So it's still, I would think it would stay fairly small for a while.
Okay. Now, have you gone out and looked at other similar sites to see if
I
there's
did.
anything?
When I
Okay.
read your email, I went and looked at some local sites, and I have somewhat of an idea of things I would want. But also, I'm not very tech savvy, so I'm totally fine with you making suggestions
Okay.
and things like that as well.
Well, a lot of times what happens, what I find out is that people don't know what they don't want until they see it. You know what
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
I know more of what I do want rather than what I don't want.
Okay.
So the don't want, you might have to help me on a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Well, again, if not that you have to do it right now, but if you could even jot some of that stuff down, and after we get done with this meeting, so I've got some kind of an idea, so I can go to the students and let them know.
Yeah,
Now,
I have it written down for me, but I can put it in an email to
okay.
you.
Or even take a picture of it on your phone and send it to me. That
Okay.
whatever is easiest for you to do. Um, and I would imagine, as far as pages, of course, we'd want a home page, and you'd probably want to feature some of the dogs on there. We could put something like that in a carousel,
Okay.
where we would have it scrolling across the screen. Um, and then either underneath that, we could have a description of what you're all about, or we could have an about page, of what you're all about. It would be kind of nice, I think, to have a page about you as well, so people would understand what you're doing for a living, and the fact that you're not doing this, from what I understand at least, as a full-time profession. I mean, you're not
Correct.
you're not in this for the money.
No,
so to
I'm not.
speak.
I don't take a
Yeah.
cent.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. But and then if we had another page that we put in there where people could contact you, and also maybe even set something up where if they wanted to make a donation, that they
Yes.
could. So I'm looking
Yeah,
at
that was
probably at
that
least
was
3
definitely.
pages.
Yeah, that's fine. I definitely wanted our story on there, like, how this came to be, and I have that all written out as well that I can send you.
Okay.
And then I can send you a gazillion pictures and, the backstories of some of the dogs that we've helped and things like that. And then we do have a PayPal donation option, and we also have a PO box for people that want to send checks.
Okay.
And then we also have an Amazon wish list for if people want to donate actual supplies for the dogs, like food and treats and things like that. So I want all of that to be on there
Okay.
for sure. And then I know you didn't have a chance to look at the Facebook page a whole lot, but I post pictures and kind of do like a little mini blog every once in a while, just about stories that come up or fun things we do with the dogs or things like that. Vet visits, just updates on their health, or if they have surgery, updates with things like that. So I was hoping that could be included as well.
Okay. I don't see why it couldn't. Yeah, that
Okay.
makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, you don't want it to be too big, but yet
Right.
you want it to be able to hold all the information that you have.
Right.
So,
My vision for it was, I want something pretty simple. I want something user friendly. So the simpler the better. But I would like it to include certain things. We do have a logo that I can send you as well.
okay.
And then the only other page or tab that I was thinking of is sometimes we have fundraisers that are apparel or different things that people can buy. Like we had tote bags one time, we did a t-shirt fundraiser, things like that. So maybe like a store or a shop tab
Okay.
where people can look at what's available for that. And then all of the money for those things goes to the dogs as well.
Okay. No, that's, I mean, everything you're saying makes sense. Now,
Okay.
what I'm going to have to do, let me explain to you. I have first year students and second year students. My first year
Okay.
students, there's 8 of them. So they've been going for 5 weeks. They've already created several websites. Now, most
Okay.
of them have been pretty easy because we're going over all of the particulars, so to speak, that we have.
Right.
Now, I don't know about you guys. What grade do you teach?
She's a
I teach special education, so I
teacher.
have different ages in one room.
I understand. Okay. Well, what happened here was that last spring, after we had our spring break, we went to all online.
Yes.
And I ended up losing 80% of my students.
Yeah, that's pretty
They
similar to what
just
happened
stopped.
here.
Yeah, they stopped coming. They wouldn't answer emails. They wouldn't answer texts. They
Right.
wouldn't answer phone calls. So I'm down in my second year, believe it or not, from 5 students to just 1.
Okay.
And the good news is he's unbelievably bright. And he's
Okay.
already created some stuff. In fact, what I can do, what I can do is I can take some of his stuff. I should be able to do this and give you links to it so you can see the stuff that he has
Oh,
done.
great. Yeah,
And
that would be great.
yeah, and what he's doing right now, I don't know, you said you're probably not all that web savvy, but in the first year, what students are learning is the front end stuff, literally how to build a website.
Okay.
Okay. And what Keegan, my second year student, what he's doing now is he's learning about the back end. In other words, he's using his machine right now as both a client and as a server. And eventually he'll be able to take the sites he's creating and push them out to the cloud and have them out there. So this project would be kind of a culmination between the first year students and the second year students, where probably the first year students would do more work on the front end as far as creating things.
Sure.
And then Keegan would be able to take that and refine it and put it on the back end and ideally push it out to one of these free cloud agencies. And we'd set everything up. And like I said, and hopefully that would be a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
I'm definitely open to your ideas as well as the students' ideas.
Okay.
I would love for, it to be a huge learning experience for them too. So
Yeah.
if they're like, hey, I have this great idea, like, please feel free to have them contact me.
Okay.
Or you can contact me if you feel more comfortable with that. But I'm definitely open to everyone's suggestions and ideas. And I want it to be, good for all of us.
Yeah. And just, as an example, so I had a project that I was going to have students work on last semester, but again, it was for the second half of the semester.
Right.
So since we were stuck, so to speak,
Yeah.
that class had 10 people in it, but I picked out the guy I thought was probably my most promising student. And if you don't have to do it right now, but if you want to see an example of some of the stuff that students can do,
Yeah.
if you would just go out to the St. Charles, what is it? I'm going to grab it for you so I can give you the right thing. So,
Okay.
I think it's the St. Charles Veterans Museum. And literally the site is stcharlesveteransmuseum.org. And if you look in there, my student Luke rebuilt the site totally. And you can see the kind of stuff that's in there. Now, to be honest, just so you know, some of it looks kind of darkish. What he did was like you want to do, they told him what they wanted.
Okay.
So he didn't pick out the colors or anything like that.
Right.
Or the pictures, but he put the content in. You can see there, again, there's a little carousel that's down more towards the middle of it. There's pictures, there's a map, there's a donate thing in there for the people, there's a Facebook link, and there's some other stuff. So if you want to see the type of stuff that he would be able, or that we'd be able to do, so to speak, you can take a look at that. Again, it's one word, St. Charles County Veteransmuseum.org.
Okay, I'll definitely take a look at that.
But I mean, not even that gives you an idea, but I just want you to see, it's not,
Yeah.
So, and if you would have seen that site a year ago and you'd see it now, there's quite a difference.
Good, I'm sure there is.
Yeah. I mean, and Luke did a really good job. Keegan is, you know, he's very, very talented as well. Like I said, I'll be able to send
Okay,
you some copies of some links of the stuff that he did. But
great.
I mean, it sounds like that's at least a start. If you can get me as much material
Hmm.
as you possibly can. Like I said, I'd rather be deluged with material and then have us have to go look through it as opposed to be the other way.
Yeah, this
Right?
weekend I can definitely go through our Facebook page and, save some of the pictures and send those to you.
And she's
I'll
fallen
send
behind
you
because a
our
member of her family was
backstory.
hospitalized.
I'll send you
So
some of the
she
stories on the surgeries we've
is just getting
gotten,
back into the flow, so to speak.
treatments,
Okay.
etc. Um,
If you've
I'll
got pictures of the the stuff you'd want in the store, if you got any pictures of that stuff, even if it's
Yes.
older, I mean, we can always update it. But just again, the more ideas we have, the better. And then I'll run it by Keegan and by my first year students, and say, hey, we're looking at probably somewhere in the area of 5 pages on the site. And
Okay.
even with that, just so you know, there's 2 ways that you can set this up. One
Okay.
way is one way is we could have what's called a SPA, which is a single page application. So we could put everything on one page and just have the user keep scrolling. The other way that we could do it is we could have multiple pages. And again, we could start setting it up and we could wireframe or set you up something that would show you how each would look. All right. And
Yeah,
then
that would be
you'd
cool.
be able to make up your mind from there.
Yeah, I would like to see the options if that's not too much
Sure.
work for you guys. Yeah, I mean, mostly I just want it to be simple and user friendly for people, because I feel like when you go to a site and you're not tech savvy, if it's confusing and overwhelming,
Right.
people aren't going to stay and look at it.
Yeah.
So I just want it to be user friendly, and we do have a lot of older people that aren't, are looking at it maybe from their phones and they're not
Mhm.
real savvy on like iPads
Right.
or anything like
Right.
that that's
Well,
new
one
generation.
thing we do with that is we would make sure that from the get-go, it would be totally responsive. You know, in
Okay.
other words, it would, you know, again, I don't know if you can, you probably can't see my screen right now then, but if I go and shrink down my screen from the size it currently is, Luke did make this, you know, it is very responsive. And, you know, you take a look at it if you would, when you get up on it later and you'll
Yeah.
see, you can shrink down the size of your browser and everything still looks nice.
Okay,
And
perfect.
what they're doing right now, what the students are learning is how to do a lot of hard coding. And what I mean is they're writing the raw HTML and they're writing the raw CSS themselves. What we're getting into in the next 2 weeks is a framework. So it's got some built-in stuff that's
Mhm.
called Bootstrap, which you may or may not have heard of. But with
No.
Bootstrap, the advantage of it is a lot of it is more drag and dropish. You still
Okay.
put your own material in, but as far as setting things up, it's a lot more drag and drop. The other thing
Okay.
too is that we'll take a look at is again, you don't have to do it right now, but if you get some time between now and the next time we speak, go out to Google Fonts. Let me see, is it Google Fonts or fonts.google? I always forget. So um, it is fonts.google.com, and they literally have 1,000 different uh, fonts that you can use for websites. They're free.
Okay. Okay.
And I wouldn't expect you to spend hours going over all 1,000 of them. That would be kind of silly.
Just
But
find some that I like.
if you want to go through them a little bit, and maybe if there's some kind of a font you like, or even a couple, we could put those in there. The advantage of doing that is if we use the standard fonts that come with most computers, it kind of looks like every other website. And one
Okay.
thing we might want to shoot for here is to try to make this look really, very unique. Because it sounds like what
Okay.
you do is very unique. I'm not saying you're the only one who does it in the world, but to be honest with you, I'd never heard of anybody who is so selfless that they do something like that until I heard from you. So,
Thank you. Well, it was very lucky that I met Chad, and he's been super helpful. And that night we talked about it, I was just so excited that he, thought maybe a website was a
mhm.
possibility. So I'm very thankful for you guys, and just thank you in advance. I'm very
No,
excited.
Okay, and I will share some other stuff with you when I get that too. For instance, it's I don't want to get you with another sad story, but um, a, a friend of mine, he's a guy I used to go out with once in a while. He's a really good guy. He had a dog who was 5 years old, Lily, and I can't even tell you. It's the old, I think, looked like a coon hound. I hate using that
Yeah.
term, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it wasn't that, but that's what she looked like.
Hmm.
And he had literally never been away from her ever. And a friend of his got married out of town, and he had somebody who was coming over to watch the dog. Well, they bugged out at the last minute because something
Oh
came up in
no.
their life. So he boarded the dog. When he came back, the dog was gone, literally dead.
What
And so
happened?
no one knows. It was literally, I mean, when he came back, her heart had stopped during the night. And he was sure that it was just the trauma of
Stress. Yeah.
her never being away from him that literally her heart stopped.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know, to be honest
terrible.
with you, I don't know if he ever got I don't know if he ever got an autopsy done on the dog or
Yeah.
not. But the point is, what he did was he started his own pet sitting service after
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And he did it because he didn't want that to happen to anyone else. He was a salesman, very successful, and his wife still works, but he's in his mid 60s. He retired. Well, he started up again just to do that.
That's
And we
awesome.
created a site for him a couple of years ago, and I'll get you the link to that. It's going to look probably a little bit funny because unfortunately I showed him how to make some changes, and he made some changes that he probably shouldn't have made. So
Right.
it comes up in the middle of the page now instead of at the top of the page. But
Okay.
other than that, there's some things in there that he wanted. I wouldn't have done it that way, but that's the way he did it. And just to give you an idea of some of the stuff that's out there. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you can, as soon as you can, just send me whatever you can. And
Yes.
it's like I said, we're going to have a couple more weeks that we're going through this beginning stuff, and probably 2 weeks from Monday, we're going to start on the bootstrap stuff. And
Okay.
it would be fantastic then to say, okay, as we do this, we're going to be creating a brand new site for the Aero Bridge Rescue, I don't know, foundation, whatever you call yourselves. And then we would be able to do it from, like I said, from the start. I think then what we do is I'd have everybody basically create their own and then show you 8 of them and then have you pick the one you wanted. And it's a
Oh
contest,
wow.
but it's friendly. It really and truly
Okay.
is, because we had about double the number of students. We had about 15 for Tom's pet sitting service, and there were two that really stood out. And of the 15, and then there was one he decided, yeah, I really kind of like this one better. And
Okay.
the person who wasn't chosen, they weren't upset. They were glad they were, basically that they were a finalist, so to speak. And what
Okay.
I did with the other people was, for everybody, was the last day of the semester, I paid and we had a pizza party.
I was
And
just going to ask that if,
yeah,
toward the end of when it's done or whatever, if there was a day maybe that I could take a half day off work, a personal day or something, and come in and buy them lunch or something of
yeah,
that
no, you
nature.
wouldn't have to do it. I would do that. That would be fine, but that would be great if we could do that, because it's always nice.
Yeah,
They'll
absolutely.
see this, but it's nice to be able to put a face with a voice
Yeah.
or a face with an email address. So yeah, that would
Yeah,
be
I can definitely do that if I have advance notice. It
okay.
just, it's sometimes hard to get a sub, and especially with the COVID stuff,
Sure.
it's been hard to get a sub.
Right.
So if we kind of know a timeline, like,
It would
hey,
be
this
it would be
month or
somewhere around the 10th to the 15th of December.
oh yeah, that's
I mean,
absolutely
that's all I
doable.
can tell you, is it would be in there
Yeah.
someplace.
Okay. Well, that's absolutely doable. When it gets closer, we can pick one of those days and I'll take off.
Okay.
And what time do they come, you say?
They're here from 8:05 until 11:50. I probably, if it would work for you, would ask you to come sometime around 11, and we do it from 11 to 12, because then I could ask Keegan, my afternoon student, if he could come and join us. He'd have to come in an hour early, but if
Absolutely.
he's got enough notice, he probably could do that.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love to meet them and thank them and, just have them
Mhm.
enjoy some pizza or whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, well, that sounds real good. I mean, I think this is a good start.
yes, I'm
And what
very
I'll do
excited.
is, you know what you're going to do this weekend, and I'll take a look at this too.
Yes.
this weekend, and then I'll get back to you, and then we'll figure out the next time we want to do this.
That sounds great.
Okay.
I will definitely work this weekend on getting you as much stuff as I can. I'll look at the fonts. I'll look at the website that you suggested to look at,
Okay.
and just kind of wrap my mind around what I'd like it to look like a little
Okay,
bit more.
that sounds great. Well, it's nice meeting
Okay.
you, and I
Yes,
look forward
you
to talking
too.
with you again. Okay.
Okay, thanks,
All right.
Jeff.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so that's it. Now, what I did was I went out and kind of made this. Okay, just these are kind of like notes that I got from talking to her. Again, she started it in June 2019. That's officially, but she's been taking in dogs for about 10 years, dogs or cats. There is no facility. She uses her home. She's got a few people that she can use as foster families or whatever you want to call it. As said, she'd like to eventually get a facility to do this. All right, she said this is something for taxes, but she put that down, so I put that in there. She's a 501c3. As it says for dogs, even though she's shown some cats in her pictures, they're for dogs requiring hospice care or having special needs. All right. As mentioned there, she currently has 4 dogs. As I said, gets them surgeries, treatments, etc. And she tries to keep the dogs down to 5 or less. If you do go out now, basically they've locked it down here, at least on my machine. I've never tried it. I've never tried going out to the student account, but I can't get to Facebook from my account here. I can, but I got to make a bunch of settings. I don't like doing that anyway. I don't think that's right to do that while I'm here. But if you go out, you can type in Arrow Bridge Rescue into Facebook, and you can find out, she's got a bunch of pictures and some other stuff out there. She did send me that story page. It's got how it started, some pictures, some backstory. She's sending me more pictures. Again, as she said, she wants a PayPal donation thing in there. She's got a thing where people can send her checks or wish lists that she puts out there. She blogs occasionally. Again, this is one thing she said to me, and she said this in emails too. I want it to be simple, and I want it to be user-friendly. She supposedly has a logo for it, but she didn't send it to me yet. Now, she sent me this card. You can see it's a little beat up, all right? And so what I've asked her to do, and I had to explain it to her because it sounded a little bit weird, but I asked her to give me a new card and send it to my house. And I asked her to put it inside of an envelope and like wrap it in paper so it was really nice. My daughter-in-law's my daughter's mother-in-law is a professional photographer. She's going to take a picture of this. If you try taking a picture of this with your phone and you try to scale it on a website, it doesn't scale very well. She's going to use her regular camera and take a picture of this. That's something I'd like in there too. All right, so she's going to give me that. Again, she mentioned the fact that she's got the fundraiser stuff. And I want to eventually be able to send her links to the stuff that you guys have. So do you have enough to get started? Do you understand what I'm asking you to do? All right, so I will save this. I think I taped the presentation with her too. I got to get rid of that because that's going to make this file just humongous. All right, so the rest of the period is yours. Remember now, this Friday, the first blush or first pass of your portfolio site is due, and any other homework in chapters 10 through 16 is due, plus on Friday we will go through the tests like we did last time. I'll give you the red pens again, etc. Okay, if there's no questions, again, the rest of the period is yours.